Yo, what's going on, everybody? It is 1 p.m. here in Chicago, Illinois. I mean, it's time for another live stream. Today is Monday, June 20th, 2022, and it is a big day, guys, because I had a really big weekend up in Duluth, and I can't wait to tell you guys all about it. First, let's say hi to everyone listening on the podcast and the audio-only version. Hopefully, you guys are staying cool out there. I wouldn't know how hot or cool it is for running. I mean, I was outside today with the kids, but I wouldn't know how it is for running because I am recovering from a grandma's marathon still. Going to take maybe at least today off, maybe tomorrow off, maybe another couple days off. We'll see. For the first time in a long time, I'm in no hurry to get back into running. Everyone else watching this live on YouTube, but not live, welcome to you guys as well. Hopefully you're sitting back with a nice, refreshing drink. I've got some afternoon coffee in my new Father's Day present. A Red Dad mug. Awesome. So I've got that. And because it's Monday, we're going to do a mukbang. We got PR cake. My wife made a cake for me for Father's Day, but I'm going to pretend that it's a PR cake because I had a PR over the weekend, guys. 2:58:36. It's where, I mean, it's where I thought I could be. It's better than I thought I would realistically do. But it's another thing to think those things, but another thing to bring them home. So I'm very happy to share that with you guys. I know a lot of you guys ran over the weekend as well, and we'll get all the way into it. But first, let's see who's here in the chat. Frank says, congratulations. Do you get blues from doing something like that? I do. I haven't really figured out how to avoid it. I'm actually rendering the Runner's Weekend episode for Duluth right now. I did have it uploaded, but I've been trying to be extra sure that the audio is better for these episodes. So I've been uploading them privately to YouTube, watching them on a TV, because that's the harshest way to listen to audio, I think, at least my TVs. And I need to do some audio tweaking. So I'm re-rendering it now, and I talk about it kind of a little bit in that video where, it doesn't feel always like you think it will feel when you finally achieve a goal. So I think I can relate. And I would say that what most people probably would say is that the best way to figure out how to avoid those kinds of blues is to sign up for another race and set another goal. So I'm not sure I'm quite there yet. I'm still, I guess, in the honeymoon phase of it. So I'm feeling good, but I'll talk about it a little bit more. I can talk about it more today since you're here, but we'll talk about it a little bit more. But let's get to some more comments. Andrew Escobedo says, hey, Co, I'm not going to be able to make the live stream today, but I want to say congrats on the sub 3. Thank you. Thank you so much, Andrew. And he says, I also ran grandma's and dropped my PR by 16 minutes to a 2:53. So he was a, 2:59? A 3:09 guy going to 2:53. And he says it was a perfect weekend for a run. Andrew, it was. The weather was absolutely perfect, and there was a strong tailwind too. So I had all the help. I had an expert pacer. I had a downhill course. I had really, for me, perfect temperature and humidity, and then also a tailwind. It wasn't always a tailwind, but it was a tailwind for most of the race. So it was great conditions, a perfect weekend for a run. Indeed. Max von Ottoman 2 says, super well done. Should be a special category for those running with a selfie stick. Yeah, I mean, I think the special category would be technically be DQ, but that's okay. Someone along the course got a photo of me and Ben running together really close to the finish. While I had the selfie stick out, which is unusual because most of the race, I think Ben was surprised by it. He's like, most of the race, you don't use that thing. And I'm like, no, I don't. Most of it, I'm not, even when I take a lot of clips. But someone got it while I was filming, and it was pretty funny. All right. The running Will says, ring the bell, Mike. Congrats again, and hello, everyone. What's going on, Will? TV76 says, 2022 is the year of Kafuzi, 100,000 subs, 2:58 marathon. Trophy husband of the year. My wife still will not concede that I'm a trophy husband of the year, but at least I was able to get the Rad Dad award. So I think it's a good consolation prize. And he says, and the kindergarten after party beer pong champ. There was no beer pong. There was no beer at all at this kindergarten, at any of the kindergarten after parties, which I expected that, but it was a really hot day that day. It would have been a good day for a beer. Pete G 1980 says, hi, Kabuzi, love the marathon vid. Just finished watching it. Thanks so much, Pete. And thanks for watching it. I'm pretty happy with how that one turned out. I was at one point I was worried that I didn't have enough footage. And I was like, I'm not sure what I have. I mean, I never know like exactly how much I have. I tend to have a lot of footage from the beginning of the race when it's really crowded and it's exciting. And then towards the end of the race, once it gets hard, I tend to not have so many clips. And so I'm never really sure if I have enough. I'm not sure I had enough to make exactly the video that I wanted to for this race, but I had enough. I had enough. Stephen C. 1984 says, cowbell. Well done, Mike. Thank you, Stephen. And Steve says, congrats once again. Ronald Childress says, congratulations. I was on the edge of my seat watching the video. Awesome. Thanks so much. I mean, I try to make it exciting. I do put it like the spoiler in the description because I know some people get annoyed. They think it's clickbaity if you try to hide it. And I know a lot of you guys were following me and cheering me on Twitter and on Instagram. So I appreciate that. I saw all your messages and everything. I'm still getting back to all of you guys, but it was really cool. It was really cool. And so I know that not everyone is dying to know what I'm doing over the weekend. So I try to make it as interesting and suspenseful as possible without being, misleading in any way. So it was tough. It wasn't like it wasn't a race that I knew how the end was going to come out. There was definitely some very, very many times where it could have gone sideways. And each of those times, Ben Johnson was there to right the ship. So, there was one time where I had to make a decision. And then the other times, Ben was like, he did a good job of falling back a little bit whenever I really needed it. And we didn't talk too much about when that would have to be, but he kind of knows. He knows. Luis Teixeira says, well, what's going on? Congrats on the Sub 3 Marathon Co. Thank you, Luis. It's good to have you here today. Molly Chanel 1 says, congrats. I've been training at BQ for 3 years now. You're an inspiration to keep at it, and the goal will be met. Congrats again. You're awesome. Well, thanks so much, Molly. I keep thinking about it. I talked to Megan about it when I saw her, Megan Murray, when I saw her the weekend prior. Wasn't it the weekend prior? Yeah, I think it was just the weekend prior at in Baltimore. And me, Megan, and Ben Johnson were talking about it. And Megan was like, what do you think, because she's like, Mike, you've made a lot of progress. What would you say is the change that you've made to get you to like the fitness you're at now? And I told her, I mean, I'm not an expert. I'm not trying to say like, oh, I broke 3 now and now I'm an expert. But I'll tell you what I told her. I told her that I think that a lot of people do stuff for one training block. And when it doesn't work, they're like, oh, that doesn't work for me. Like when people try high mileage or when people try lower mileage. I mean, I'm guilty of doing the same thing too. And I said, I feel like I know at this point what my body responds to, what works for me, and what will get me there. And so I just needed to give my body enough time to be able to respond to the training that I think I would need to get to where I want to go. And the first 2 times I did it, I wasn't able to get there with it. The body wasn't ready to kind of absorb the work yet. It was just able to survive the work. And when you're just barely able to survive the work, you're not getting the full benefit out of it. It took me a couple more cycles to be able to get that benefit. And I think I'm there, is what I told her. And so, that's what, for everyone that's still trying to get their goals, and I don't know what my new goals are yet. I'm sure I will have new ones soon. But whenever I do, it's for people that have their goals that they're trying to go after, figure out the process first and then keep at it. I mean, sometimes you need to make a change and that's when it's hard, but when you think you're onto something right, don't let a bad result question that, So that's kind of where I've been at. Jonathan Crossley says, massive congrats, Co. In the words of my son, never given, only earn. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. And Inna says, hi, Kofuzi. You're a sub 3 marathoner. Thank you. That feels good to say that. And it's good to hear that from you. Sean Davlin says, hey, everyone. Well done, Kofuzi. He says with a wave emoji. It's been pretty cool to follow your journey over the last few years. So thank you for sharing it with us, inspiring stuff. Well, thank all you guys for coming today and every day. And even if you're not here every day, for when you guys do, when you show up in the comments and watching the videos, I appreciate you guys coming with me. I've been thinking about it a lot in terms of putting videos on YouTube and just even doing stuff like posting stuff to Strava and Instagram. And how much I like the gamification of things, like seeing the numbers somewhere, and not only just seeing them somewhere, but seeing them somewhere public. Um, Having people like see them, like not that I need you guys to see. I'm not trying to like, you know, send it to you in an email, but like that people are out there looking at it is motivating to me. It helps me stay accountable, and it's really encouraging, and as much a part of my process is to be able to share it with you guys. Because if I weren't, I just don't think it would be as interesting to me to have these goals and to go after them. And I don't think I could do it. So I need you guys. So thank you guys. All right. Tracy Smith says, congratulations. So happy for you. Sean Millich says, congrats. It was awesome seeing you crush 3 on Saturday. It was my first sub 3 as well. Awesome. Good job. Oh, Sean, yeah. He says, I was the madman at the finish. I can, I will. Oh, well, awesome, Sean. Sean, I was following you like all day. So it was good to see you. It was good to have you there. Like there were times where it got dark and I was like, I don't know. I don't see anyone I recognize here. And then I would see someone that I'd seen at some point early in the race. I'm like, okay, all is not lost. Some familiar faces are here. So, at some point, I got ahead of the 3-hour pace group, Ben, Eric, and I. And I got really nervous about being so far ahead because I was like, later in the race, that pace group, and it was loud, it was chatty, I could hear all the shoes, so you knew when it was coming. And I'm like, later in the race when I'm hurting, when I hear that 3-hour pace group catch me, it's going to be like really defeating. And so I was very scared to get in front of the pace group, especially as early as we did. I got in front of Ben, Eric, and I got in front of them at like mile 7, or I think before mile 9, I think. So somewhere in that area. And I was like, this is too early to be doing this. But Ben wanted to go, or he didn't ask, he just went. Because I told him I want to come through at like anywhere between 128 and 129 through the half. So he started moving. The nice thing was like that 3-hour pace group never caught me. But there were times where I'm like, oh, sometimes the pace groups pass me and I don't know. Like at Houston, that happened. I passed the 3-hour pace group and then it passed me and I don't remember them passing. So there's been times where it happened. And so I usually start to panic when there's people that I don't recognize. So seeing you, Sean, was really good and reassuring for me. It was good to run with you. Vincent says, congrats, Co. You did it, man. Thanks, Vince. Sherry Samsudin says, congrats, Confuzi. And JC says, congrats, Mike. We'll watch the video later. Awesome. Dave says, congratulations. And Edgar Smith as well. Brian Ferren, Alan A. I don't want to keep having to read. I mean, I appreciate all your congratulations, but I don't want to make the live stream boring for you guys. I'm reading them all. I see all you guys here. I appreciate it so much. Sean says, though, thanks for the Taco Bell Defy info, though. I hit it up on the way back to the airport. I mean, it's funny. It's a funny place. If you guys don't know, like I went to the Taco Bell that like, at least here in Chicago, they were like calling it like the robot Taco Bell. Or like the Taco Bell from Demolition Man, which it's not really the Taco Bell from Demolition Man. From Demolition Man, Taco Bell is like a fancy restaurant. But this one is one that it does have a drive-through area, so you could get food from like a regular person, and you can even go inside too. But you can also order food through your app. If you order through the app, you get your food like you do at like a bank. Back remember when we used to go to banks, and before there was ATMs for everything, there would be the tubes where everything would get like sucked in and come down. Although it doesn't use suction to do these, there's like a conveyor system. But that's how the food or like some like pharmacies are like that, drive-through pharmacies. So like you get your Taco Bell that way. So I did that over the weekend because it was in the Minneapolis area. So I did that on the way up. I didn't get a chance to hit there on the way back though. Emma says, I was getting emotional watching the grandma's vid, so excited for you, and the work paid off, man. Well, thanks so much, Emma. I appreciate that. All right. Eric says, is that a selfie stick in your half tights? Or are you just happy to have run a sub 3-hour marathon? Well, I never put this. I don't know how to answer that correctly. I was going to say I never put the stick in my pants. But, Ben was asking that. He's like, you just hold that the whole time? I'm like, yeah. He's like, you don't ever put it in a pocket? I'm like, no. Then the lens would get all gunky, covered in sweat. It'd be gross. Stephanie says, when you're not using the selfie stick, are you holding it or do you tuck it in your shorts? I hate having anything in my hands, but I guess you're probably used to it. I am used to it. And so I don't have it here. I hold it kind of like towards the top, right underneath the camera. I hold the top of the stick. So it's kind of like the center of gravity. So the stick comes down like towards my elbow, and then and then just the camera will show up on top. And I hold it that way on purpose. So that way it's like the least likely way that sweat would drip down your arm and onto the lens. But it's also pretty comfortable to carry it that way. Think about like, I don't know if you're familiar with like lacrosse players, like how they'll hold the stick up by like the net part of the lacrosse stick. Like that's kind of how I hold it. And it compacts down to about like 12 inches, 14 inches, something like that. So that's how I hold it. Stevie76 says, Kabuzi's not gold, beat Nick Bear. I heard that he just ran a 250. So, I mean, that's like, he's like 9 minutes ahead of me. So that's a lot. That's a lot. We'll have to see. I would need to have a really, really good downhill course to be able to run another 9 minutes faster. So we'll have to see. Let's see. Alejandro Rojas says, would you consider 7 miles to be a long run? I think it can be. It's a relative term. So if it's a long run for you, then it's a long run. So it depends on what you're training for. If you're training for a marathon, it can be if you are new to marathoning and you're new to endurance running. If you're training for a 5K in high school or probably maybe in college, depending on how competitive you are in college. But in high school, a 7-mile run would have been long for me. I remember in high school, I mean, not that I was very good in high school, and this was in the 90s, so lots changed since then. But I think some of our longest runs maybe would have been 7 to 8 miles. Longest runs. So it all depends. And those would have been way faster than I run a 7 or 8 mile easy run, quote unquote, now. So it's all kind of depends on what you're training for. Dave said, I love the middle bait of slow music. Legit was worried you weren't going to make it. I mean, it wasn't intentionally made for me to be bait, because that was a part of the race where it really could have gone the other way. And there was a good solid couple of miles where Eric and Ben got ahead of me, and they were probably like 100 to 200 meters ahead. And, I told Ben ahead of time that, the way I like to run hills is I go way slower than everyone else. I don't never try to do even pace. I go really slow up the hill, and then I'll usually make it back up on the downhill because I just like to coast. So that way, mentally, I see any uphill as a chance to recover. And so he was like, okay, I got it. I'll wait for you then. I won't worry about you if I lose you on the uphill, and then I'll wait to see if you catch up on the downhill. And there was a couple of rollers at one point after like the halfway point. And, I just never caught back up. And Eric and Ben kept getting further and further away. And, I was like, this could just keep happening. It's like that, which Star Wars is it? The one where they like have no more ammunition and they just only have fuel and shields. And they're just like, we don't know what we're going to do. We're just going to keep coasting along until we die. I could have kept coasting along until I died. But I was like, I know how that's going to end. It's not going to end well. So I was like, as long as it's not going to end well, I'm not going to waste this beautiful day. Not this almost great course with a chance to run with a good pacer. So I'm like, as long as it's not going to end well, I'm going to make sure it really doesn't end well. So I decided I'm going to catch up. Now, I didn't close the gap like right away. It's not like I sprinted ahead. It took me a while to catch back up, but eventually I caught back up, and I was like, I'm going to stay here, and, until I can't stay there, I'm going to stay here. And it occurred to me in doing that it was like, whether I take it easy and run a little bit slower than goal pace, or whether I run like marathon effort, whatever that pace may be, it always ended up being a little bit slower than kind of goal pace, or usually did. I still felt just as equally bad and also equally not bad as each mile passed. So I was like, all right. So like my mental gauge of like, this is too hard or this is like wrong, was all off. So that middle music part, that was a part mentally where things really turned around for me too. So, Eric says that has to be like a 3 to 5 minute penalty carrying a selfie stick with a camera/phone. Has to get in the way of running efficiency, but hey, kudos, huge deal. I'm sure. It does. It does. And I will say, Ben did take the selfie stick for about maybe like 3/4 of a mile or so, maybe a mile. And because towards the end, when he saw me struggling, he would come back to me and say, "You want me to take that?" And I was like, I would say no. I'd be fine every once in a while. And then after a while, after we lost Eric, then I was like, "Yeah, here, why don't you take it?" Um, and then so he took like a couple of clips of me. Um, but then at one point, he kind of took off, and I didn't see him. I saw him, but he was way ahead again, and I had to like work hard to catch back up to him. And so when I caught back up to him, I was like, I'll take that back now. And then I was worried that he would take it again later and then leave me, and then I wouldn't have a GoPro for the rest of the race. So after that point, when he kept asking if he could take it again to help me out, I just said no thanks, because I was worried that he was gonna try to use it to like, kind of like encourage me to go faster. Come on, if you want to get any footage, you're gonna have to catch me, that kind of thing. I thought that that's what was gonna happen, and I was like, I don't want to play that game. So I didn't let him take the camera anymore after that. So I did have a little bit of help for about about a mile or so. Guy Smith says, "Congratulations! I've been watching since your Peg 33 review. That's one of the first shoes I reviewed. I think the 32 might have been the first one, and then after that it was the 33." He says, "You're easily my favorite reviewer. We seem to have the same taste in shoes." Awesome. That's so great. Thanks for your continued support, Guy. And, I tell people all the time that, like, the fact that there are multiple reviewers, that there are many reviewers and more coming every day, I think is great, because, everyone's feed is different, but you can usually find someone that has preferences similar to yours. And then, like, you can kind of take in the information from everybody, but be like, if you're not sure, focus in on the people that like you tend to agree with and see what they're saying, and you can kind of like get a more personalized opinion on what you like or won't like. And so, yeah, it's awesome. I'm glad. Chris Crow says, "What time could you do without chatting and holding the selfie stick?" Probably a lot slower. I'm chatty. If someone made me be quiet for a race, I think I'd have a hard time. I think that I would just kind of like, it's like those kids that have a hard time behaving in class until you get them like one of those weird chairs that makes them have to like sit up straighter or whatever, that doesn't have like a back or something, just something to take like a little bit of the nervous top level energy off. So like I'm chatty on the long run. I know it annoys people, but I do kind of want to get chatty. I don't get too chatty at the end when I'm working hard, but in the beginning, I want to know. I want to know how everyone's doing. So, without the chatting, without like narrating to the camera, I think I'd probably end up being slower, because it's just a nice way to kind of like filter off some of that like inefficient energy anyway. So, maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Tony49 wants to know, what shoes did I run in? I ran in the Metaspeed Sky Plus. I don't think I saw a few other Metaspeed Skies out there. I didn't see any other Pluses that are out there. I really enjoyed it. One toenail on each foot is pretty banged up though, which I wasn't expecting. One makes sense because that toenail, it's been getting a little bit chewed up lately, and there's part of it that kind of like sticks up a little bit, and so then with the shoe, it just kind of got caught, and now it's really jacked up. And the other one is just a complete surprise, came out of nowhere. But otherwise, the shoes felt great. Really enjoyed having them on. I was really nervous because, as usual, like the pads in my feet tend to get really sore as I get close to a marathon from all the training. And I was worried that my left foot was really going to bother me, which is what happened at CIM. But I didn't. It never ended up being a problem. I noticed it. I knew like my foot was like, hey, this still could be an issue, but it never bothered me at all. So it was, I really lucked out. Thomas Kelsey says, "Congrats, Michael. I ran Grandma's as well and have already watched the video 3 times to relive the incredible experience." Well, awesome. Thank you so much for watching it, and hope you had a really great race. It was a really fun race. Like someone else was calling it the CIM of the Midwest. I don't want to call it that. I don't want to make one the diminutive and one the, like the, I don't know what the opposite of diminutive, majorative is, but they both have very similar feels to them. Small town races that for some reason are well attended by a bunch of running nerds, people that know that this is the place that you have to come with a good chance of good weather, a good course, and a very well organized race. Very well organized race. So, yeah, it was great. It was great. I feel like CIM and grandmas are two sides of the same coin. I mean, it's like a good way to bookend a year, June and December. Great way to do it. All right, looks like we got Dr. Josh in here. Let me see where you coming in at, Dr. Josh. Here you go. I'm all mixed up in the chat here. He says, what's going on, Dr. Josh? He says, what up, co-fam? Congrats, Mike. Thanks you so much. Good to see you. Thanks for coming today. I saw your video, Dr. Josh, a little bit ago, just missing your mark. And then Bramka was in it. And I had a chance to meet Bramka this weekend at the coffee shop after the Tracksmith Shakeout. So that was pretty cool. We've been kind of interacting online a little bit here and there, kind of like not always that directly, but somewhat tangentially, getting closer to directly. And then we finally got a chance to meet in person. So that was really nice. I got to talk to him a little bit. And yeah, it was just great to meet him. And I got to meet a lot of people over the weekend. I got to meet Kurt. Is Kurt here? I got to meet Kurt over the weekend. It was really great to see him in person. So, yeah, it was good. Josh, you should come out to Grandma's. Have you ever been to Grandma's? You should come out. I think you would love it. Tracy said, I loved watching you come out of the bad/difficult patch. You could see the turnaround on the face, and it's a good reminder that a bad patch doesn't have to be the end of things. Yeah, that's true. But here's the other thing. Usually when I get into a bad patch, I think slow down a little bit, regroup, and then make another kind of like assault, make another move. But I think that that's a trap. I think that, like, for me, I mean, mentally you can have a bad patch, and allow yourself to have a little bit of a pity party, but still keep your foot on the gas a little bit. Go for it. Because the miles hurt either way. Whether you're feeling bad or, I know what I mean? It's like, as feeling good or feeling bad, the miles are still going to hurt. They're still going to be tough. So, like, push through the bad part. I'm not saying, like, go out there and sprint, but find a way to keep pushing through. Because your body's just kind of just trying to trick you, I think. It's trying to get you to stop. But you can keep going. That's what I realized. I mean, the nugget of that started with Flores and Jimmy in L.A., that they were like, you can keep going. And I was like, no, I can't. And they made me keep going. They just yelled at me. Like trying to get the whipping a donkey, trying to get him to move, and he just wants to be stubborn. But yeah, so that was the start of it, and I've been working on that since LA. And that's what I needed for the day too. Also, I needed some help math-wise, because I was ready to give up a couple of times, and I was like, no, mathematically, it's impossible. Same thing happened to me in LA. It happened here at Grandma's, where I was like, ugh, the math isn't going to work out. There's just no way. And then Ben would be like, nope, no, we still have time. And he would just correct me every single time. I'm like, wait, wait, what? And so, like, if I was there by myself, I definitely would have just given up and been like, no, there's no way I can make this. And I would have lost those 84 seconds that I was able to break through 3 with. So that's where Ben was, like, critical. Because every time my mental math was wrong, Ben was like, no, that's not how much time we have left. So I don't know why I'm so bad at it. So Sean said, did you notice any difference in the new Metaspeed Sky Plus in the race as compared to running LA with the Metaspeed Sky? I think that the Metaspeed Sky Plus is a little bit more forgiving when you're getting sloppy. That's where I really like it. So when I was really tired, I still felt like I was getting a lot of pop from the shoe. So I felt like it was still helping me to continue running at that race effort. Whereas the Sky, it's not a bad shoe. It's one of my favorites still, but needed a little bit more precision, which sometimes that's good, but sometimes you just want to be a little bit lazy, I guess. So, I mean, that's where I feel like I really noticed it. I also do feel like, I don't know if it's the different material or what. I don't think they changed the last, but each new Metaspeed that I get feels a little bit roomier in my toes. So, I mean, those are some of the areas where I really feel like it helped. Because the base on that, the forefoot, it's wider. There's more foam there, and the rocker starts late. It's like no rocker but toe spring, if that makes sense, and that suits my marathon pace stride really well. Yeah, GWV 5443. This is the thing I was telling you about. So I love the race video. Can you talk about the clock error and what happened with 10K to go? Seemed there was confusion in the video. Yeah. So there was a race clock that when I crossed the 20-mile marker, it said 2 hours, 20 minutes, and like something seconds. And I'm looking at that and I'm like, well, I remember Ben saying we were about 23 seconds behind clock time in terms of when we crossed the start. And there weren't that many clocks along this course. Every mile marker at Grandma's, there's spray paint. There's like a Grandma's insignia and the mile number spray paint on the ground, and then really tall balloons that are put on really long strings. So you can see them really well, but there aren't clocks like at 5K. Maybe there was one at 5K and 10K. No, I don't think there were. There were the mats, so you knew it was there. I don't remember if there were clocks or not. I remember seeing a clock at mile 20. And at that point, it said 2 hours and 20 minutes. And I'm like, all right, so we got 6.2 miles left to run, 40 minutes. That's basically a little bit more than, that's basically a 10K with 40 minutes left. That's 620. That's two 20-minute 5Ks. That's 626 a mile. I'm like, I cannot run. I didn't want to run a 626-minute mile to start the race, let alone at mile 20. And I was like, and we got the one big hill on this course coming up. So I'm like, no. I'm like, let's just pull it back, salvage the day. We'll run 7:30s the rest of the way in and relax, Because Ben was like, do you want to slow down? I'm like, yeah, let's just take it easy. And he's like, wait a minute. Wait, how much time do you think you have left? And I was like, 40 minutes. The clock just said 2:20. He's like, that clock's wrong. He's like, we have 45 minutes left. And he's like, we have 45 minutes. I couldn't see his watch anyway. He's like, we have 45 minutes left. He's like, we can run 7-minute miles and make it. And I was like, oh, I think I could do that. And then on the video, instead of writing 2 hours, 20 minutes, I wrote 2 hours, 2 minutes. So that's why the video is wrong. It's a typo. My mistake. I just wanted to get that video out so fast. So that's what happened with between the video has an error, the clock had an error, and then mentally I had an error too. And I'm not sure why it was 5 minutes off. That makes no sense because the women do start 15 minutes, I think, ahead of the men. Now, I didn't hear the women going off. We're standing in the crowd the whole time. And it's not that big of a place. There were trains nearby, so that made some low level of noise. But I didn't hear I heard the national anthem. I didn't hear push room going off. I thought there was push room, right? I don't remember seeing any footage of push room. But anyway, I didn't hear if there was push room. I didn't hear the women get sent out. All I heard was the men/citizens race getting sent out. And so I knew the women were ahead, but I thought they were 15 minutes ahead. Our race started at 7:45. Women's elite starts at 7:30. So it didn't make sense that the clock would be off by 5 minutes. So I just had no idea what was happening. So that was the real confusion. And again, if I was by myself, I would have been like, screw it. Let's walk on, So, yeah. Wes A says, way to go, Mike. I saw you and Ben chilling out before the start. What led you to pick Grandma's? Couldn't have turned out much better weather-wise. Grandma's is a race that a lot of people in Chicago run. It's a race where a lot of people who didn't get to run Boston choose Grandma so that they can run Boston next year. So there's a handful of races that people choose in this area as their BQ races, unless they're willing to go real far. But Grandma's is one of them. And so a lot of people that live in Chicago, the Chicagoland area, as far as transplant goes, draws in from the Big Ten. So Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin. And so there's a lot of people that are from north. So they kind of go up that way, and then it's summertime and lake time and people camping and all that kind of stuff. So it's a very popular race in Chicago to run. So I've been hearing about it for years before I even qualified for Boston. That was a race where I was thinking that I really want to do that. Me and my running buddy have been wanting to do it for a couple of years. But CPS always tends to end, like Chicago Public Schools always tends to end the school year right around when Grandma's is. And he has, stuff with his kids that he always has to, juggle. And so it usually never ends up being a good time for him. But I was like, this year I'm going to go. So that's how we ended up picking it. I knew it was a downhill course. I think it's like 140 feet in that downhill. Or is it more than that? 340 feet? I can't remember. 140, I think something like that. Maybe 300 feet downhill. Along a lake. So I feel like that would keep things cool. And it's very far north compared to Chicago. It's about 7 hours drive if you go directly. So no, more than that. Maybe closer to like 9. I'm not sure. So a lot of driving to get up there. And so it's a little bit cooler. And so good chance of good weather, good course, well organized, and not a huge race. So like, you can do your warm-ups and get right into the corrals, that kind of thing. So that's how I picked it. For the same, I pick it for all the same reasons that people pick CIM. Shannon wants to know, which course do you like more, CIM or Grandma's? I love that Grandma's course. Because so much of it, you're running along the lake and you can see the lake. And, I train by Lake Michigan, so running by Lake Superior feels very familiar to me. And there was quite a bit of shade along the route as well. So you could try to run the tangents for Grandma's, but given the time of day and time of year, the way that the trees are and the way the course is laid out, if you stay on the left-hand side, for a lot of the race, you'll have some tree cover. So that worked out really well. And so I just thought it was really, really nice. And there wasn't as much uphill at Grandma's than there's less downhill, but there's also less uphill at Grandma's. And then the finish for Grandma's, I just think is really nice. On the map, it looks like it's pretty much flat, maybe a little bit rolling, but to me, mentally, I felt like I was on a very slight downhill for like the last 5K. It felt really, there was a couple of blips of uphill, but after that one kind of big overpass, it's annoying because you go up, then it flattens out, and then you go up some more. And you can't see the second up from the bottom. But after I did that, I just felt like it was a lot of easy, gradual downhill. So it was just kind of like not a lot of pushing, just a lot of maintaining effort. Not slamming the gas, just kind of keep it on there, keep that applied pressure kind of thing. And it was just a nice way to finish. And then there was just a lot of people around. The energy was good, just like in Sacramento. But yeah, I do like the way that Grandma's finishes. Although towards the weigh-in, between 25 and a half to 26, you're kind of running around the convention center, and it got I don't know if it always does that, but I don't know if it's because we got really close to the water at that point, or a bunch of clouds started coming in. It got very, very windy right at the end, and I got really nervous because I remember coming through and I felt really good, and then we hadn't even gotten to the 26-mile marker. And then I heard a guy goes, "You guys have 3 minutes left." And I was like, oh, he must know that we're 3-hour people. And he said, "There's 3 minutes left." Well, I'm like, wait a minute. We haven't hit mile 26. If I'm running 650s and there's more than 0.2 miles left, 3 minutes. Oh boy, I was trying to do math. I'm like, I don't know if there's enough time. So then I just started getting really nervous and freaking out. And that's when no matter which way, and it made a couple of turns, no matter which way it turned, it was always a headwind. So I was yelling at Ben. I was like, "Ben, get back here, block wind for me." And I just kept trying to run like this with my shoulders hunched because I was just the wind all of a sudden just smacked me in the face a bunch. So that wasn't great. And so maybe but I do feel like you could see the finish line from more than a tenth of a mile away. Not quite 400 meters, but a good enough amount away where I feel like, all right, I could see it. There's enough time for me to put in one last push and go. So, but I would say the overall, the atmosphere of CIM, that finish line. There's the men's finish line and the women's for like the OTQ purposes. And then you got the Capitol building. I think that's kind of a little bit cooler than Grandma's finish, but like I do like that there's a little bit more. I love to be able to see when I can't see the finish, it freaks me out. When we're at like mile 25 and I don't know where the finish line is, I start to panic. But you could see the Grandma's one from a decent amount way out, so I prefer that. So there's things I like more of each, depending on which aspect you're talking about. But overall, I'd say I like Grandma's a little bit more. Ray's here, Sarge. What's going on? He says, awesome PR performance. The recap video was very exciting. Thanks so much, Ray. All right, let me scroll down and catch up with you guys. I've been babbling on for a long time. Kurt's here. What's going on, Kurt? Good to see you. And Frank says, did you manage to get a shower before getting on the plane? I did. So, yeah, I ended up trying to get late checkout at the hotel, and they're like, no. It's like, well, can I extend my reservation for a day? They're like, oh, sure. I was like, well, then if there's no one coming right away. I didn't say that, but I'm like, if there's no one coming right away, so that way I can extend the reservation, why don't you just let me get a late checkout? But I think they know what they're doing. And they made me pay for another night at the hotel. So I did that, and then I was able to get out of there. So yeah. And Kurt says, he's laughing out loud. He says, I was going to yell at you about the wind around that corner that I was standing at. Yeah, I saw Kurt. I met Kurt the day before at the Track and the Shakeout. And then I saw him as we were coming down. You go down this overpass to get down to the convention center, and I think that's where we saw you. Ben and I saw you there. And you're right. Right after that spot where we saw you, that's when the wind started getting really crazy. And I was like, what is happening here? I was like, this sub-3 marathon isn't going to die without a fight. So, yeah. A heads up would have been nice, Kurt. I didn't need it. It might have just made things worse if I knew that kind of wind was coming. But I appreciate the thought. Matt says, there's a really cool finish at the Air Force Marathon in Dayton. Oh. He says, I ran that back in 2014, and they have airplanes lining both sides of the finish chute in front of the museum. Whoa, that sounds cool. That sounds really cool. I want to see that. Joni says, congratulations, Mike. Now you no longer have to listen to people say, if you ran without the GoPro, you could break 3. Yeah, that is nice. That is nice. Lewis Corcoran says, it's not a race clock error. The men's elite field started 5 minutes before the rest of the field. Oh, I didn't know that. Okay, so that's why it was off. But, I thought I saw other clocks that seemed right. So I don't know what's going on with that. All right. Well, the 5 minutes, that makes sense, though. That's got to be it. Maybe I misremember some of the other clocks then. I just don't know. I don't know. Anyway, I think all I just need to do from now on is find someone else to run with and let them. I mean, I have all the things. I got foot pod. I didn't run with an external heart rate monitor, but I've got the watch. I got all these tools, and they just end up confusing me. So I think I just need to find some people to run with, and that's got to be my strategy. Andrew says, super late to this, just got off a work call. Congrats, fantastic run at Grandma's. Thanks, Andrew. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And IMF Picture says, what's the next goal, Co? 100K? Yeah, I mean, it's, I want to race a 100K. I wanted to do it this summer. I just don't know that it's going to happen this summer. But then I'm like, if it doesn't happen this summer, I just don't know. I don't know what's going to happen after that. I don't know when it's going to be. If I can't get one in this summer, then this fall, I'm like, my dance card's getting full. So I'm not sure. I'm not sure when I'll be able to run that 100K. It might just have to be something homegrown that we do time trial style. I don't know. Ina says, I love that Grandma's is classed as good to access from Chicago and you still have to get on a plane to travel home. Yeah. Yeah, it's a 1 hour and change flight to Minneapolis and then a 2.5 hour drive from Minneapolis to Duluth. So it's a journey. I still, I was very happy to get home when I got home yesterday, but like it was pretty stressful trying to make everything. And part of me is like, I should have just driven the whole way. But then again, I'm like, oh man, imagine like being 5 hours into a drive and still having like 3 hours to go after running a marathon. I feel like that's probably not safe. Stevie76 is saying, I'm calling it. Ben Johnson will pace Hez kicks to a sub 3. I watch that. I would subscribe to that series. That'd be amazing to see. Has started running? I thought I saw something about that he was going to start running. Kurt says, hey, Code, did you see both Apple and Garmin are now supporting power natively? Would be good to see a video on how they compare to Stride. I didn't know that. Well, Garmin has had, is it in the 955? The 255, I don't think does native power. It does have a barometric altimeter. I think it has all the sensors you need. It must just be turned off, a feature that's not unlocked. But I know Apple does have native power too. So it would be interesting to see how it does. I'm trying to think. I think my Apple Watch is a Series 4. I do think that it still is getting updates though. So we'll have to see. We can play around with it. Lou says now, if only I can get Ben to pace me every marathon. Yeah. Well, I think he's helped me unlock, sometimes you need someone to show you, and I definitely needed him to show me. I would have not gotten it without him there yesterday. That's for sure. Absolutely. I have no doubt about that. There was too many places that I could have taken the easy out, whether it was intentionally or unintentionally. And so I needed him there. Do I need him for everyone from now on? I don't think so. I think I have a sense of now I know how to get there. So will I run sub 3 every marathon? Probably not. I know for Chicago for sure I'm going to be pacing my running buddy, so I get to pay it forward and pace someone else to their running goal. So I'm looking forward to that. But we'll see what happens going forward. Jody says, I ever heard that when you struggle in the marathon, the best thing is to actually pick up the pace for 100 meters and it opens your stride. I think that would be very hard for me. I've tried running backwards. I've tried stopping and just doing a deep squat. I've tried skipping. I've tried everything. When I'm in trouble, there's nothing that's going to help. One thing that did work for me a little bit when I was trying to catch Ben and Eric is I made sure to focus on my forward lean. And I do think that one of the things that running with a selfie stick messes up is my forward lean. I think I end up leaning back a little bit more to counterbalance the weight. And I focused on leaning forward, and it's something that I've done a little bit in training, is basically I just look at my feet when I'm running. It's kind of over exaggerates the motion, but just look at my feet. And so there's a clip in the race video, where I'm just looking straight down at the feet, and that's what I was doing. And I did that a couple of times. It just helps me make sure my feet are not going all crazy, which they tend to do when I get tired. And the looking down makes me lean forward a little bit in a good way, I think. I don't think I'm leaning just straight at the hip. I think I'm leaning at the ankles when I do it, or at least I try to. And so that's one thing that I do, just different form cues, but I have things like skipping or running sideways, like the sideways shuffle, or other kind of running drills. They never really seem to help. But maybe I'll try that 100 meters thing. Charles Ventura says, congrats on the sub 3. My first marathon was canceled mid-race due to the heat. Oh boy, 102 degrees Fahrenheit. That's the right move. People still finished, but I stepped into the course at 19K due to the heat and knee pain. Unsure what to do next. Well, I say, Charles, that stinks that happened to you. I'd say you can do one of two things. Try to hop in another race real quick and see how you're feeling in terms of fitness. If you already made it 19K in, your body's probably pretty tired. And so I would say treat yourself as if you had finished the race, and then, reassess for maybe a cooler temperature or a cooler time of year to race again. But half marathons, you can race them a little bit hotter than marathons. They're still hard. So you don't have to completely wait till fall, but I would say be easy on your body. You went through a lot, I would say. So yeah, take some time. Ina says, "Am I showing my age when I hear Ben Johnson? I think of a Canadian sprinter the size of a truck." Maybe it does, but you're not the only one. That's why I always say Ben Johnson from Instagram, because to distinguish from Ben Johnson, the sprinter, the Canadian. But here's the thing: we're up in Duluth, Minnesota. It's basically on the Canadian border, right? I think so. So like, it's really far north. So, I very well could be talking about a Canadian. I suspect that there were many Canadians at this race. Kurt says, one thing that is crazy about grandmas is that at mile 13, you could see the lift bridge by the finish line for the marathon. And you keep staring at it and it doesn't seem to get closer. Ben also pointed that out. He's like, hey, there's the finish. And I was like, what? He's like, yeah, you can see it right there. All you have to do is run to that. And I was like, I got to run to where? And I was like, that's not helpful. That's not helpful. But it was very beautiful scenery. I mean, there are times during the race where you could see a little bit of downhill. You don't see the whole course, but you could see like a good amount ahead of you. Not that the downhill pitches so much. I don't think the downhill was ever that steep. Like LA, there were some downhills that were so steep you're braking. I really dislike that kind of downhill. It's almost like it's trolling you. But the downhills were nice, but because you could see a long way into the horizon a lot of times, I felt like you could see really far, and it felt like it was a really big downhill, or like it looked like it in my mind, even though it might not have been in actuality. So that was like mentally, that was good. So, but I would say, yeah, crazy about it. Yeah, that's crazy. It's wild. I think it throws some people off. Donovan Lassard says, LOL, I'm from a town 3 hours drive north of Duluth, still in Minnesota. It's not really near the border. It isn't. I know it's right at the point of Lake Superior, but I'm also originally from New Jersey, and my geography is horrible. I also get lost in like amusement parks, so like my sense of maps and navigation is also terrible. So, yeah. Yeah. So yeah, I remember hearing some people over like talking to each other like before the race, like, oh yeah, I'm from like a couple hours northeast of here, or northwest of here is what people would say, and I'm like, northwest of here, where's that? Northwest of here, that must be Canada, is what I was thinking to myself. But I'll have to take another look at the map. Nicholas Holland says, you've been streaming for over 50 minutes. I just want to say congrats on sub 3 again. Your video was so inspiring. I already ran today, but it made me want to go do something fast. Well, thank you so much, Nicholas. All right. I think that is a good place to actually leave it for today. Oh, Martha's here. I just want to say hi to Martha. She said, just found Wi-Fi in time to show up. Well, good to see you, Martha. I'm going to get going now. My wife is out of town for work. I came home yesterday. She left today. She's in Boston this week for work. So I got the kids in the other room watching movies. I did buy them some Stan's. Well, I bought the baby. My daughter can't have Stan's donuts, but the baby has some Stan's donuts. My daughter's eating some Father's Day cake. And they've been very patiently been hanging out in there. So I'm going to go check in on them, make sure they're doing okay. I'm going to upload my Runner's Weekend episode today, I think. It'll take a while because it's a big file. So if you guys want to check that out, you'll get us. I'll do a little bit of recap. You've already seen a lot of like from the race part. I've talked about it here, probably in more in detail here. But you'll also get a sense of the rest of the weekend too. So I wanted to make it separate, and the stuff is not completely like redundant. It's very different material. So hopefully you guys enjoy that. And then we'll do another live stream tomorrow. And then I'm not sure if tomorrow, probably the next day after that, the full race recap will be there. So stay tuned for a lot of stuff. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Good to see you. I see you here, Matt Legrand. Good to see you. Thanks for stopping by today. And for you guys that are still running out there and not recovering, but still running, be safe out there. Thanks.